I'm Father Terence Hoppenjans, mainly known by the name of Father Hop. I am 79, almost 80 years old. Today's date is June the 1st, 2011. We are situated here in Lexington, Kentucky. And my relationship to Father Beiting has been a close friend for over 51 years.
My name is Father Beiting, and I am 87 years old, and today is June the 1st, and we're in Lexington, Kentucky. My relationship to Father Hoppenjans is I got to know him in 1960. He came to me as my co-pastor in 4 counties in Appalachia. We have been the closest of friends ever since. And if there has ever been a priest that has more effect on the good I have done, it is he.
The co-pastor is a little misleading. I came as an associate. In those days, I was an assistant. Today, the new term associate. And our relationship was so good in our beginnings that we worked together well. At the time of my being transferred or made pastor of another place, we asked that we could be co-pastors, and the bishop said no. So that's how that all began.
I think my beginning in Appalachia was a very, very strange thing. I was more than 22 years old. The year was 1946, and I was a seminary student, and I was then told by the bishop that I was going to the mountains for the summer in the eastern Kentucky Appalachian area. And I told him I couldn't go, that I was the oldest of 11 kids. My father had been a carpenter and was out of work during the war, and I needed to help them. Well, he reminded me that a bishop says what you do, and I say amen. So I found myself in Paintsville, which was responsible for 5 counties in eastern Kentucky. And it was the summer that my life got changed. I saw things that summer that I had never realized were possible. I found out that there was another America, the America of Appalachia. I found poverty that I had never seen, even in the Great Depression. And I saw prejudice from one church to against another that I had never recognized or seen before. I saw poverty of housing, of lack of shelters that I hadn't imagined. And it was the summer that changed my life. I just prayed that somehow, God, I might be able to come back and be a part of the solution. And that was my prayer. When I was ordained in 1949, I was assigned to have a parish in northern Kentucky, St. Bernard's in Dayton, Kentucky. And I taught high school, Newport Catholic High School. And then at the end of the school term in June, I get a phone call from the principal and says, "What's going on? I got word you're not going to be on the faculty." I don't know. And then the pastor the next day said, "I got a letter from the bishop, and you're not going to be my associate anymore." Well, all I knew was in 2 days I lost both my jobs. And so I just sat around not knowing what was going on. And then the bishop came to the parish. And after the ceremonies were over with, he said, "Come into the parlor. I want to talk to you." Well, at 1 year old, a priest, I'm scared to death. And he said, "I've been going over your record." Well, by that time, I knew I was going to be landing in some terrible situation. He said, "I've decided to make you a pastor." Well, in those days, you went 19, 20 years before you got to be a pastor. So I was really and truly excited. And I said, "Where's the church?" He said, "Well, there isn't a church there yet." And I said, "What about the rectory?" "Well, there ain't no rectory there yet either. You'll have to live in the parish 16 miles away and go there and fix up an old house." Well, I thought you can't have everything the first time around. But I got there, And then I had to work hard. And I found out that the neighbor had taken up a petition to have the Catholic Church expelled from Berea, the name of the town where I was assigned to. He didn't want the property values to go down, and he was sure that if it was a Catholic church there, they would. There had never been any presence in this area before. And so I had to work hard. I didn't have any kind of support. I had to do most of the work myself. We had no money. There was only 8 Catholics in that whole southern part of Madison County, and 3 of them were children. And so I remember the first night that I was able to sleep in that old house. And there I had the bed and a lamp and a nightstand, and there above the door I had my crucifix. I had won it at Newport Catholic as a student as a religion award. And there I looked at it, and for the first time I guess I really saw the man on the cross and not the plaque. And I said to him, Lord, I'm sorry, but I'm going home. I don't have the talents, I don't have the resources, I don't have the ability to bring an answer here to Appalachia. I know nothing about it, and it is a strange land to me. And after rambling on, I just sat there, laid there, and I heard him say, so you're going to run away too. He said, I had hoped that you might stay and be a part. And at that moment, I just simply had to say, Lord, I will stay, but I don't know how I'm going to make it. How am I going to do these things? And he said to me, he said, on the cross I gave you my mother to be your mother. To the disciple whom I loved, I said, behold your mother. And to her I said the same thing, behold your son. You can make it. Well, as I describe it, that was the day I lost my mind. I no longer was going to think as a human folk. I was no longer going to try to ration things out according to the sensible way. I was going to put my hands in the hands of God, and I was going to go wherever He left me. And I think that has been the bright part of my life. That day I lost my mind and began to take on the mind of Christ. So in the process of that, the bishop began to send me helpers down to the mountains. And I had several of them, and they were good men. And then in 1960, I had started a camp for children and bringing kids in from the mountains and give them a week at camp and so on. And Father Hop came, and I gave him a little idea of what we were doing in the various churches that I had gotten started and so on. And he pitched in. He wasn't anything but a co-pastor. And he was working with me and doing all the things, keeping the books, and every once in a while he'd come and say, you spent more money than you got. And I'd have to get on my knees and ask God for forgiveness and tell Father he had to figure out a way to make that right. But anyway, we began to do so many things. And we formed not only that camp for children, we formed another organization we eventually called the
Christian Appalachian Project.
Christian Appalachian Project. And over the years, we have been working together in all parts. He's been in all parts of eastern Kentucky, from Pikeville all the way up through along the Big Sandy where he is now. And it's been what Christ said, I pray, Father, that they all may be one. And that has happened with us. And out of that unity has come so much in the way of novelty, of goodness, and of experimentation that has resulted in the change of life for many there. So it's been an exciting time. And we together have done much to change the world down there. And I just want to mention one other thing about changing the world, and that was when I was a seminarian in 46. The priest that I served under down there said, we're going to do outdoor preaching. Well, I'd never heard about that stuff before in my life. Priests preached in church and behaved themselves. Now he was taking us in front of courthouses and general stores and coal mining camps and so on. And at the end of the first week, he then said to me, you're going to preach next week. And I said, no, I ain't. He said, yes, you are. And I did twice that week. And that began my lifetime ministry of outdoor preaching. And I've done that in all the 62 years of my priesthood. And just this last week, I was out twice in the evening time in Martin County and Lawrence County preaching out of doors and having people come up and talk about Christ and so on. So that's been one of the ways in which we both have tried to bring Christ back into the lives of people and to make him a central part of their life.